everyone. I'm really excited tonight to be sitting here chatting with Patricia. Welcome, Patricia. Tell us about the members of your family.
So in my family is myself and my wife, and together we have a 5-year-old son.
Excellent, excellent. And of all of the ways and methods and techniques available to members of the 2S LGBTQIA plus community in creating a family, are you comfortable telling us what techniques and methods you and your wife have used?
Yeah, so we actually have done a little bit of everything. We have done IUI, and now we have experience as well with IVF and reciprocal IVF.
Wow, so you've tried a little bit of everything. And
Yeah.
so, and all of this has been with the same fertility clinic, or have you had to find a variety of different fertility clinics to kind of find the technique that works best for you?
Yeah, we've actually been really lucky that we've stayed with the same fertility clinic the whole time. They have been wonderful, and we've had the same doctor since the beginning. So, and we've been really happy with them.
That's fantastic. You've been on quite a journey to grow your family. And we all know, those of us in the community all know that having a family in our community is pretty much never free. Are you comfortable talking about some of the costs that you've had to incur so that you could have the family you have?
Yeah, we've paid almost everything out of pocket ourselves. I feel like we've lost count of how much money we have spent. But overall, we feel like it is worth it, and we are in a position where we are lucky to be able to keep trying. We probably spent about $8,000 to have our first child, and we are still trying to have our second, and have probably spent, oh gosh, 4 to 5 times that so
Wow.
far. So it's pretty costly.
Mhm.
We've been lucky too, though, that we've put our name down on the funded cycle list. So we have had the opportunity to use that as well. Yeah, so that's definitely been really helpful in cutting costs.
Absolutely, absolutely. And because it isn't even just the egg retrieval or the insemination or anything else. There's also the medications that you have to take
Yes.
and time off work for the appointments and the whole collection of everything. It all adds up, right?
It does. Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. And it takes an emotional toll on you as well as a physical toll through the whole process. Have you been able to find that you've got a good support network in helping you navigate some of that side of things? Because I think that a lot of us don't assume that that's going to be something we need to focus on. When we think about starting a family, whether we're part of the community or not, we're thinking sunshine and rainbows and having babies and growing our families, and isn't this wonderful? And we don't necessarily give a lot of thought about, have we created a support network if we're going to need one?
And I think that you are exactly right. I think having a support system, even if things are going as planned, is important. I think if you are doing it with a partner, communication is key, making sure you're on the same page, because there's so many decisions and information you're going to get that you never imagined that you had to decide about. So having that communication with your partner. And I think there's been a lot of times where I've had friends whose family don't really understand what they're going through, what fertility treatments look like, the toll it can take. So I think having a support system who at least has some understanding of what you're going through is really important.
I agree. I fully agree. You've been there, you've done that, and we have every expectation that you'll do this again. Outside of that, though, and referring to your first experience, were there times when you were made to feel like you were the other?
Um, I would say in our experience, not really. I think that's probably why we stuck with our doctor and our fertility clinic, because they have been so wonderful to us. I think there has been times where we have needed to make that communication with the people we are dealing with, whether it's receptionists or different people, just to correct them in maybe their language, or saying like, actually my wife, and just correcting them and being open to that, because I come from a place where everyone's learning, and so I don't get frustrated about it, but I just politely correct them, and then hopefully next time they will maybe rethink their language.
Yeah. And that's excellent, because that's not everyone's receptive to being corrected. And so
Yes.
I'm glad your experience has been that I correct them, we move forward, and it continues to be a positive experience. That's fantastic. Understanding that you've agreed to be here to chat with me this afternoon. And so obviously you understand what the show's all about. When you were going through this process 5 years ago, when you were having your first child, do you believe that a show like this would have been beneficial? And if so, what kinds of things would you have wanted to see included in a show like this that would have made things easier or helpful for you?
I think it would have been so helpful to have a show like this. A lot of the information and research that we did was very heavily influenced by the States, and things are very different. How things are done in the clinic to clinic, even in the States. And so just knowing what is kind of regulation in Canada is really helpful. And I think just having the information at our fingertips would have been really helpful, and not having to go search for everything, essentially. So I would have loved to have a show like this when we were going through the process. I think just knowing what your options are, knowing cost, just knowing going into it costs, and timelines, things that you don't think about. You're like, oh, I'm ready to start a family. And then it's like, wait a minute, here's all these things you need to do first. So like just knowing all of those things would have been so helpful to not only like prepare mentally, you can prepare financially, emotionally, so you're not hitting these almost like roadblocks through the process, and being blind to them before they just appear, and you're like, oh gosh, and then you have to deal with them right then and there. You could kind of prepare yourself in advance. I think there's just so many reasons why I feel like it would have been so wonderful to have this when we were starting our process.
Oh, good. I'm glad that would be helpful. Are there any words of caution that you have that you would share with members of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community who are sitting where you were 6 or 7 years ago, just thinking about getting the process started and embarking upon the journey for themselves?
I think I would say approach it with an open mind. Obviously, you have ideas of what you want your family to look like when you start out. And I feel like, or like how you might do that. I think having an open mind is really helpful. And it kind of helps to, when you hit those kind of roadblocks, you don't stop in your tracks, because you have an open mind and you're ready to shift and do what you need to do to have your family. So I would say be prepared for some turns and some plan changes. And at the end of the day, like keep your end goal in mind. And just be open to how you get there.
I love that. I love that. As we wrap up, can you tell us, please, for those who have yet to be a parent, what is your very favorite part of parenting? I know it's a lot to ask you to narrow it down, right?
There is so much. There is so much. I think the best part of being a parent is just probably experiencing the world through your kids' eyes. Like
Mhm.
everything is amazing when they see it for the first time. I know it sounds cliche, but like it's like you're experiencing things over again. And it
Mhm.
just kind of like makes you appreciate things or see things in a new way or remember what something is like that you just don't even pay attention to anymore. So I think just witnessing stuff through them and witnessing them learn is just really cool.
I love that. It's so true, though. It is so true. They slow us down sometimes in a world where
Yeah.
we need to be slowed down, right?
Yes, definitely.
I want to thank you so, so much for taking the time to join us today and for sharing your story with others so that they can hear that, yes, it is possible. And sometimes it's a journey, but I mean, you get to see the wonder in his eyes every day, and the journey is absolutely worthwhile.
Yeah, it's true. Well, thank you so much for having me.
I really appreciate it.